Yeah. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to the small stage here at the Yo-Kimono Japanese Christmas market. I'm Carolin, this is Sonoe. We're gonna do a kimono demonstration and a little talk to kind of introduce you a bit more to the history of kimono. So you might be familiar with a particular style of kimono. I think there's one style that is most well known within Japan, but also outside of it. But what we're going to show today is a style that came out of a particular period of Japanese history, the Taisho period. And the Taisho period was a very interesting time in Japanese history. It was like 1912 to 1926, and it was a bit similar to the 20s in Europe. You know, you had a lot of new ideas, artists kind of exploring new ways of looking at things. So it was really an interesting period in Japanese history. It was also very democratic. There's a term called Taisho democracy because the power shifted a bit, and we have liberal movements and democracy coming, really taking forefront in Japan. Also, what happened during this time period is really an exchange with Europe in particular, and artists, for example, they went to particularly France. And studied there, took some ideas to take to Japan. And the same, of course, if you know Japanism, for example, is a particular art style or influence in France, where French artists like Van Gogh or Monet, they kind of took a lot of ideas from Japanese art. And so we really have a mix of these two elements of kind of Japanese and Western. And this was also very prominent in clothing and how people wore their kimono. So kimono was the main kind of clothing form, but in this time you had a lot of, again, clothing items from Europe coming into Japan. So we're going to show you some styles from this time period. Back then, like clothing, imported, they were still pretty expensive, of course. So usually people mixed them with the kimono they had at home. But it was particularly popular to wear shirts, for example, as an undergarment, and also mix kimono with like items like hats or umbrellas. So I think we're going to show a men's style first.
I'm going to show a 1920 Japanese student style kimono using this kind of stand color shirts, but in Japan we say high color shirts. So in Japan, this type of fashion is called high color fashion because it came from English high color. High color fashion was really big in Japan and still gives so much influence to young generation. And nowadays people are mixing Western clothes and kimono. So I think it gives you a really good tip to how to adapt the kimono into your everyday fashion life. So I'm going to put the Shosei-san style first. Really importantly, we need a hakama. Men's samurai skirt or culotte pants. This one has a split, so it's culotte. So sometimes it can be skirt.
Sonoe is also wearing a men's hakama.
So also you can use for martial arts or Iaido, or martial arts with bamboo, kendo. Japanese young students wear Western style shirts with hakama in 1920 style. So I'm going to put the hakama into Akira-kun. First, so you stamp your length each one. A lot of my customers are interested in hakama, but they don't know how it's constructed. So I'm going to show you. So it's really like white baggy trouser. And this type of cloth hakama is called umanori hakama. That means horse riding hakama. So you can ride a horse because you can open leg wide. So first you drop the back. You don't have to worry about the back. Then tie the front to the narrowest point of your waist.
To tie them at the waist, kind of. Yeah, and make them very tight.
Here at the back, there is a stiff board, so it supports your back. And there is a little like a stick, like a ice cream spoon, like a stick. That one is very important. So you can insert this disc into the tie. So it stays here. Then this board put it to your back very nicely. You can make a bow or whatever shape you like. But this is the typical popular shape I'm going to make it like a cross.
Forgot to put the actual howdy, so like a kimono, men's kimono under, which you have to do first. So just for you not to make the same mistake. But this was also, so in the Taisho period, you have more available education, for example. So education and schools and universities become more accessible to the population. So this was actually the first version of a school uniform. So school uniforms started to be introduced in Japan as part of the school system. So these were actually the first school uniforms.
Material is called kasuri, the cotton ikat weave, which is dyed in indigo, and it's very strong and tough material, so which was very popular for young people and outdoor workers.
As you can see, it's a quite thick material, and the pattern is woven into it, not like painted on after.
Today, he put the trouser, so it is safe, it's okay, but usually, in all the time, Haikara-san doesn't wear trousers underneath, so he needs to wear something long or to cover the side, because hakama is wide open.
So if you take away the white shirt, this was kind of what samurai would wear in the time periods before. But the fashion point is of course the white shirt, and the so you can see a bit of the color and also the cuffs of the shirt. As well during this time period, like intellectuals and people at universities, scholars, they became much more prominent in kind of the great influences of fashion and culture. So we have this style, and also the woman style was very popular, but kind of influenced again by school uniforms and scholars style. So yes, the hat was like a very popular item.
Little bit Western style. And Shosei-san, student style of 1920.
Okay. Then shall we move on to the women's style? Yeah? So now we're going to introduce the kind of equivalent for young women at that time. Of course, these would be, this is kind of the kimono of middle class people, because again, education would become available first to a certain strata, to a certain group in society. But yeah, they were highly influential, of course.
So again, the school girl style, Japanese haikara-san style. Also, modern girl wear haikara shirts. So time I bought it from Zara. Victorian style, and put it vintage brooch. that time in 1920 at school, it's very normal. Someone wear traditional kimono, and then the girl next is wearing very modern Western clothes, or someone is just mix, half clothes, half kimono.
So this particular pattern was really popular and is still very much associated with the female students of the Taisho period.
It's called yabane.
Yabane, it's called yabane, and it's arrows, so it's kind of inspired by arrows and bows. We have some images as well, I'm just going to show. So here you can see some illustrations and some of the style from back then. As you see, the combination with purple and kind of silver was very popular. It's also a very popular manga, which is called Hai Karasan ga Toru, which kind of, when you think of this style, almost every Japanese person thinks of this manga. It's a shoujo manga, so a manga for young women, but it kind of really traces the main character, and she always wears this kind of style. So if you want to know more, I really recommend this manga. Yeah, she's also a bit of a tomboy. So at this period, there was also a bit of discussion in society, about movement and how to move your body. So the hakama style was back then considered to allow for more movement. In school, you had more sports and kind of physical education be introduced. So some people thought that with the hakama, it's actually easier to move than the straight kimono style. So now Sonoe is just tying the basics, so kind of to adjust the length of the kimono, the hem. You can play around with the length a bit. And
because of the hakama she is going to wear, kimono length is shorter than usual.
And then the sash you see here is kind of to fix the collar as well and the general kimono.
Of the hakama, we try to keep the obi very flat.
So now we have the decorative obi being put on top of the more functional obi, under obi. this is a quite flat style, not too decorative. And then we have the hakama. So this one is a bit different because it's a skirt. So it doesn't have the, it's not pants, but it's an actual skirt. And this was also what they introduced as the school uniform for young women at the time. And this style is still very popular today for graduation ceremonies. So when you graduate from university, a lot of young women, it became more and more popular in the last decade to actually dress in the style as their dress for the day.
Stuff and then it just gets covered by the trousers. It's so funny.
So it's the same, you put it in the same way as the men's, with the tie kind of going around the torso first.
We find this. So again, we put this in between the back and the sash to stay well. And the female obi is a little bit more.
So there's a bit more of a shape because you have the obi underneath and there's a bit of a bump in the back. That's very fashionable. And as you can see, especially these days, hakama for women, they come in all different colors and gradations, sometimes with a bit of like blossoms, for example, are quite popular as well to have them on the female hakama. Whereas the men's hakama is a bit more plain and more, darker colors. And the woman's hakama is also tied a bit higher on the torso. So it's done. So again, this is kind of like the school uniform style, but we have some fashionable elements, and we're gonna get a little hat as well. French style, exactly. So again, we have the hat, which is of course kind of taken from European fashion. The collar, the shirt underneath, and also the boots. These are not conventional Japanese footwear, but it's also the boot style is kind of very popular. We can do a bit more of a summery version with a hat, with a straw hat. And then of course we can also add more layers to add more fashion.
1920s Taisho style Haori jacket. Carolin style have a long sleeve for young ladies, and the patterns are very vibrant and influence of Japanese and European art deco.
Yes, Art Deco was a big influence on kimono styles, and you also had different dyes, which made the colors in general brighter and more poppy. Okay, we also have another fashionable edition for our young man. An Inverness coat, which was also again layering, especially when it gets colder in autumn and winter. This is a special coat that could be worn on top.
Type of cape is called Inverness coat. Inverness is the name of a town in Scotland.
Yes.
Am I right? Yes. Yes, but the Japanese version Inverness coat is adapted to be able to wear kimono underneath, because kimono sleeve is wider, so underneath of the cape is a big hole. So he can either wear kimono and western suits as well.
Okay, so that was our little demonstration. Thank you all for coming. Maybe we have the two of them posed together so you can take a picture if you want. Thank you very much. I hope you learned a bit about the kimono of the Taisho period. Again, a very exciting time for kimono styles. And if you're interested in some kimono and want to have a look at some authentic pieces, then please visit Sonoe's stall in the back of the factory.